Barkai or from David's camp?
I don't know, but we know them from before.
Ah,
We know they're like friends of the family. All right. So the first, the Rashi explains on the first pasuk, Ela Devarim Asher Diber Moshe. He explains that the whole first pasuk is talking about Tochachot, right? Is all about what we did, right? And he explains that because he did him in a remez. Why? Because of the kavod of Bnei Israel. He didn't want to tarnish. He didn't want to embarrass Bnei Israel. So the question on Rashi again. So it says Ela Devarim, and remember we went through Rashi. All the words of the pasuk is saying what the places of what they did, not mentioning the fact what they did. Just they mentioned Horev, Kadesh Barnea. They said Tefel Lavan, all these different places of everything that we did, right? And he did it in a way so we just remember, so we just know what he's talking about without actually saying what he did. And Rashi says, why did he do that? Because he did it in a remez, specifically because of the kavod of Bnei Israel. And the question of Rashi on Rashi is, what are you talking about? The entire Devarim is full of tochachot that are very much outright. Why the first pasuk only did he say it in a nice way? Every other, the rest of the Devarim you're afraid to read because it's like he's killing us one after the other, right? He talks about Korach, he brings Meraglim, he brings the Egel. He says it very, very. By the way, we saw it inside also. He does go to town, right? And Mao Shekan, so why Dafka over here? He wanted to hint it, right? And what kavod to Israel is there by just hinting at Dafka over here? And we bring three answers. The first one is we bring what it says in the Midrash Rabbah on the pasuk, right? That on this pasuk, right, on Ela Devarim, that really the tochachot, all the rebukes, it was befitting that who should have given it to us? Bilam. And the berachot that we get should be given by Moshe. But why did Hashem flip it? Hashem flipped it because when someone is that hates you, gives you berachot, you take them seriously. The world will take them seriously. If someone who loves you tells you all the bad stuff, you're going to take them seriously also because you're not used to that. You're expecting the good one to give you to say nice things and your enemy to say something bad. You're not expecting your enemy to say good things. And he did that specifically. Why? Because he wanted Bnei Israel to think, to digest it, and to really take it in. The second answer we brought was the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that we have a pasuk that says "V'hanistarot laHashem Elokeinu v'haniglot lanu ulbanenu." The nistarot, the hidden things are for you, God. V'haniglot and the exposed things are for us and our children. Right, so we brought a machlok between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nehemiah. Rabbi Yehuda says everyone agrees that when we crossed over Eved Yarden, when we crossed over the Jordan River, everyone agrees that we accepted something extra on ourselves. We accepted this concept of arevut. The question was, what's the arevut? Rabbi Yehuda says that we always had the arevut of the things. Arevut, like we said, was like a responsibility for each other. You make a sin, I'm responsible for it. If I make a sin, you're responsible for it. But Rabbi Yehuda explains that was when the things that were done in Beferhesia, that was always given. That we always had that concept of accountability. And when we crossed over the Yarden, now we add another layer of things that were done hidden, right? Something that I do hidden, you have to pay for. You're going to be responsible for. And something that you do hidden, I'm going to pay for. Rabbi Nehemiah says, how could that be? How could I be responsible for something, for something that someone does nistarot, hidden? And he says, no, that's not what it is. So what is it at the end? We say that it's a person that everybody in the midbar was responsible for whatever they did on their own. And when we crossed over the Yarden, they accepted upon ourselves whatever they did, whatever they did, outwardly, not private, not privately. So Rabbi Nehemiah says no one's ever responsible for anything that anybody does privately, but someone that does something publicly, you are responsible for, and that's what we accepted upon ourselves at Eved Aiden by the Jordan River. Okay. We brought an example by the Egil in Masechet Yomah that explains that someone who gave sacrifices to the Egil, right, died by the sword. Someone that was just happy, and then the Gemara there goes down to different levels. But the last one, someone who was just happy in his heart that, oh beauty, we have an Egil, right, died with a disease, right. So you see from this that everybody gets their own punishment based on their own sins. Right, so that's the second answer. So the second answer, it follows Rabbi Nehemiah, that says you end up that we have arevut only on the open things, and we have an obligation to fix each other because we're going to pay for it either way. only on the open things, not the hidden things. The third answer we said is because why does he do it in a hinting way? He did it in a hinting way for the people just who sinned a little bit, right? Shehata me'at. And then after he goes after more specifically against the ones that sinned a lot. Okay, so that's the dafka why the them is. And we explained the pasuk, Va'ish ehad yehata ve'al kol ha'adat tiksof. When it talks about Korach, Moshe Rabbeinu says, if one person sins, you're gonna get mad and kill everybody. So the question, that's Moshe's prayer to Hashem. The question on this is three questions. The first one is why he's saying ish ehad. He's saying by one guy. It wasn't one guy. It was 250 people with him. He wasn't alone. The second question is that if really one person did sin at the end, why would God want to destroy everybody because of one guy? That also doesn't make sense. If Moshe said one guy, and let's say we prove that Moshe is right and saying yes, it is only one guy, then why would God want to kill everybody based on one guy? And the third question is why does Moshe use the lashon in atid, future tense? Does ish ehad, if one ish yeheta will sin, the al kol adat tiksof, that on all the nation you're going to kill, doesn't make any sense. And we explained that the mahloket, the tefillah and the response of Hashem with Moshe and Hashem is contingent on the mahloket that we said earlier in Sanhedrin regarding Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Hamya, that a person gets punished on the punished one on the private ones or on the public ones, right? Which means, well, in the beginning, Hakadosh Baruch Hu wanted to judge lehumra like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said that the hidden things are when we cross over Eved Adin, we're all covering each other for hidden things that we do in private, right? That we're going to be hayah for each other on what we do privately. And in the midbar, he adds, we're already reliant on each other b'fehezia, right? So, but Moshe comes and answers and says, no, you can't do that. Because your name is Kel Rahum Vehanun, and the whole reason why you made the world is because, like we mentioned earlier, that it's always about your name. So you can't, if you want to be called by your name, then you have to be Rahum Vehanun. You can't judge us so harshly. So no, you have to hold like Rabbi Nehemiah, that says in the midbar everybody was responsible only for themselves, and when we cross over the Yarden, then we accepted upon ourselves arvud for things that happened that outwardly. That if you, God forbid, someone drives on Shabbat, okay, I'm responsible for him, and I'm going to get punished for him, and you have an obligation to do something about it. And then we're going to talk now. We said that there's a right way and a wrong way, and we said we bring a pasuk in Tehillim. וחסד השם מעולם ועד עולם על יראה וצדקתו לבני בנים ולשומרי בריתו ולזוכרי פיקודיו לעשותם. We said the chesed is the compassion of God is forever and ever on the ones that have yirat shamayim, that fear Him, and the righteousness to His children's children, to the ones that protect the berit, we said, the covenant, and the ones that remember the precepts, the details of the Torah, la'asotam, to do them. So he has three quick questions. We said, what is the inyan of a berit? What do we care about it? What berit has to do with anything with Chesed Hashem? And also, what is the berit that you're talking about? And what is the one that remembers? The end of the pasuk seems repetitious and cryptic. Uzochre pikudav la'asotam, that you're going to remember the precepts in order to do them. And so we explained that this pasuk is talking about someone that is reprimanding his friend Leshem Shamayim, not reprimanding his friend because he wants to just yell at him and say it out of emotion. No, he's going to use chokhmah, right? And we explained that someone that reprimands his friend Leshem Shamayim, Hashem gives him a chut shel chesed, right, which is a strand of chesed, this compassion. And we see, where did we learn that from? Also, we learned that Resh Lakish says it. I think it's in Berachot or in Yoma, I think, that says that a person that learns at night, Hashem gives him a chut shel chesed in the day. And I remember when I first got married, I would go to Sharei Tzion and learn. I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays. And always my best days were Wednesday and Friday. I always got my orders like the day after. So you get a chut shel chesed. You go to shul 9:00 and you're exhausted. You didn't eat dinner yet. Sometimes I didn't eat dinner and I would go anyway. And that means I wouldn't get home till 10:15. And if I didn't pray, I'd be eat to 10:30. right, from the day, and then I'm waking up early to go to shul in the morning. So if you put that mesiru nefesh, Reish Lakish says you get a chut shel hesed in the day. So that's where the other place we see chut shel hesed. So we explain over here that a person that is mochiach, right, reprimands his friend le shem shamayim, not out of emotion, not out of anger, right? He's going to get a chut shel hesed, right? And what does that mean? That you reprimand the guy in private. You go to him privately. You don't go to him publicly and embarrass him. You do it privately at the right time, and you have to know what to say and how to say it. Then the pasuk continues. So remember, we're breaking down the pasuk. The first one, Hesed Hashem. What's the Hesed Hashem talking about? It's talking about the ones that are reprimanding their friend beseted privately, leshem shamayim. Now the second part of the pasuk says leshomre berito, the ones that protect his berit. What berit are you talking about? So Zera Shimshon explains it's the berit that we accepted upon ourselves by Eved Yaden, which is what arevut. Kol said arevim zelazeh. And what is this arevut that we accept upon ourselves, like Rabbi Nehemiah, that we will be responsible for what other people do b'fehersia, and we have an obligation to put them back on the right path and the right time. By the way, it's not so easy. Sometimes it takes a long time. That is the berit that the pasuk is talking about, and just like we do, and then and the end, the last part is uzochre, the ones who remember pikudav v'lasotam. So this is a great part because he's explaining that sometimes it's not these guys that are going to be tochiach, right? That's going to reprimand the Shem Shemayim. It's not enough for them to do it only in the moment. Wait for them the next day to say it, because obviously you don't do it in public ever, because that's wrong, right? If they have a guy that's not going to listen to them, he knows they're not going to listen to him. You know, it says in the Yevamot that you have an obligation, just like you have an obligation to tell someone who's going to listen, you have an obligation not to tell someone who's not going to listen. So what do? These guys want to help them. They want to make them right. So he befriends them. He becomes friends with them. And when he becomes friends with them, they talk about something, mundane, and they find a way to maneuver the inyan, the concept of what he wants to tell them, into the conversation. And the guy on his own is going to say, "Oh shoot, that's really the halakha. That's the thing. I got to be careful." And you didn't even say nothing to him, and the guy doesn't even know that you know. Right? And who did this? No one better than Aharon HaKohen. Right? It says in Avot the Rabbi Natan, it says when he saw two people fighting, or when he saw that one guy was filled with sins, what would he do? He would hang out with them. Right? And he would and the guy on his own, from his own guilt, would say, "Oh my gosh, if Aharon HaKohen would know how bad I was, he would never talk to me." So he would regret what he did on his own, and he would just inspire him to get better on his own. And Aharon doesn't say a word. And we said before, two people fighting, what would he say? He would go to one guy and say, "Listen, Joe wants to make peace with you," and he goes to the other guy and says, "Joe wants to make peace with you." Joe number two. And then by knowing that, by Aharon getting involved in a very nice way, the people would automatically say, "You know what? All right, it's not worth it. If Hakohen knows about it, it's just better not to do it." And that's what it means. They remember. Why do they remember? Because they're remembering to get the guy to make teshuvah in order that they could that they could start getting more mitzvot. Because if you're fighting, you're losing out on a mitzvah of arevut. Right? In order kedesh bnei adam yasru mitzvot, that bnei adam will do the mitzvot veyitrahaku me'averot, and will distance themselves from averot. Will distance themselves from averot, and that's the whole concept of not. That's what we're not an emotional people. We're very emotional, but we're not supposed to act emotionally. When you see somebody doing something wrong, it's asur for you to start running up, because you're doing it for you. You're not doing it for him. That's like Rambam holds. If a guy is mad and he breaks a glass on the wall, or throws something, or he breaks something, he's hayav. Why is he a hayav? Because he's metaken. How do you mean metaken? He broke something. I goes, yeah, but now he has his shudat. He lowered his own anger. So for that reason, the guy's hayav on metaken, on fixing, even though he broke something. So you hayav for doing something out of emotion, that's wrong. So you have to know that when you want to, even look, your kids especially, that's the hardest one, and the wife and all that. That's the hardest one, to reprimand them in the nice way without being emotional, because you're super emotional when it comes to them. So, but that's the look. I remember I went to visit Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef's wife with my daughters, my whole family. It was like a Rabbanit trip. I went to a bunch of saw the Baba Sali's daughter that day. We went to a whole bunch of people's houses, and she told us that her father, Rabbi Haim Atiyah, okay, she lived to 120. he had 12 children, one bathroom, nobody fought. 12 children, one bathroom, nobody fought. Why? Because they were happy. And you see her, she's a light from her face. She's just happy. There was no fighting. And him, he's the most timid, anab guy you ever see. Unbelievable. Why? Because if you do things out of emotion, you're not going to get to that level. You have to learn to subdue your emotions and act only with logic and what the Torah tells you how to do it, when to do it, smartness, this and that. And the zechut of our learning Zera Shimshon, we should be able to get this until Mashiach B'Merav. Amen. Amen.